Hello everyone, back with another video here. It's another one on how to solder wires and connect them together and different connectors that you can use. So we'll go ahead and get started here. I'll move the camera and try to get a better view of it here. Give me just a second. Alrighty then. So there's different ways that we can do this. The one way is you can solder them together. And you have these different connectors here. These here three are ones that after you crimp them on, you can heat shrink them. And that way they get a better seal. You don't get the water in there, less chance of them corroding. And you have the outer style here that you just put on. They're pretty much open. And you got to put heat shrink over them or put tape around them. And you have the regular wire cap that you can use on them. These you find more in like wiring on houses and stuff, and on like little heaters and stuff like that. We'll go ahead and do one here. Let's see. Pretty much basically all you're going to need is some wire strippers, a little butane torch, but you can get by without these and use like a lighter or a hair dryer. And you could use a soldering iron also. You'll need a pair of crimpers like this that'll open up and you can crimp the wires with. You can also strip them with these. And they have the strippers like these. That's really easy to use. You just stick them in there. And it slides off like that. You only need about 1/4 inch off of them for in the little terminals here. On these here ones, you just slide them in there. Sometimes you need to twist the wire up a little, if not they get caught when you go to put them in. You don't want the wire sticking out way past the end of it here. And there's different colors on here. You got a red, a blue, and a yellow for on the connectors, telling you which one to use. This one's the blue, so once you squeeze it on there, check it, make sure it's got a good tight grip there. And you go to the other end here, and I cut that one just a little long, so we'll trim it off. Same thing on this end. Stick it in there, and you don't want it way out past the end, just a hair's okay. Again, check it, make sure it's got a good grip. And on these ones, they just slide together like that. And you could, after you do it, you could slide some heat shrink over these. And that way, after you get it together, you can heat shrink it. And it'll cover this up so you don't have the bare spot. Or you could just put some tape around it. The heat shrink tubing does a lot better. So that's one way. Now we'll cut this off here. And we'll do the other way with the wire cap. Again, you don't need a whole lot sticking out, just like 1/4 inch or so. And on this here, you just want to take twist them together. And twist them clockwise because that's how the cap goes on and you want it to go the same way. And just screw that down on there. And make sure you got it a good grip on them. And that's all there is to that. In housing electrical, I always take and put a little tape around this also so this doesn't come undone, or if the wire did come undone on it, it don't pull out of the cap and cause an electrical fire or something. Now we'll do this here kind. They call this a butt connector, and this is the kind that heat shrinks on it. They make these also with the regular style that don't heat shrink, and you'd have to put some heat shrink tubing around it or tape if you didn't want it to get wet inside it, which is a good idea, and you don't get the moisture in there and get it all corroded and cause a connection problem down the road. Also on these, you'll want to twist them just a little bit. Take and slide that end into it. Make sure you got it up in there as far as it goes. Take your crimpers and just crimp that side of it. And check it. Same thing on the other side. Take and crimp it. Make sure you got a good grip on it, that it don't pull out. And on this one, you can heat shrink it here. Be careful not to burn the insulation on the wire, which is easy to do when you're using a little torch like this, because they get really hot. After you do that, check it, make sure it shrunk down around it good. And this side could be a little more there. And right there you got a good sill. And still on this one, if you wanted to, you could go over it with some heat shrink. Same thing, just slide it over it. Or if you got these wires connected on the ends here, you'll want to put the heat shrink tubing on before you do the butt connectors. And I had another one of these and I just knocked it off, and I'm not going to find it for this video. And that was the last ones I had of them. But we'll go ahead and put this end on one of them. Same thing, you'd want to skin your wire back so you got about 1/4 inch sticking out of it. Slide it up in there, and these ones the wire don't come out of the end like the other ones do. I should have put my glasses on for this video. Take and make sure you got a good crimp on it. And same thing, take and heat them up. Like I said, you could use your lighter. You could use a hair dryer even if you wanted to. Get it shrunk down around there. And two, if you're using a hairdryer, less chance you're going to burn the insulation and cause another bare spot. On that there, you just push these two together. This other side would be the insulated kind too, that's heat shrunk. But you stick them together, and the other one would have had the heat shrink tubing part over this, so you wouldn't have that bare part there even. Now another way we can do this is with solder. And that's probably the best way to keep a connection on them, is solder them and have heat shrink tubing over it. On this here, I would skin them back probably about 1 inch. I always take, when I do these, I leave them frayed out like this. That way the ends are kind of frayed. You can stick them together and get a good connection that way. And just take and twist them some. That way you got them like that. I always recommend using a little flux on them. And I'll put a link down below where you can get this on. And I'll put the solder that I'm using and a link. And also these connectors, I'll put a couple different ones in a link too that you guys can go to and purchase some if you want. On this paste, you can just take a little on a brush and put it on. Or use your finger if you don't mind getting it on your fingers. And once you get that done, if you got a little clip thing, that wire holder, you could put it in there to kind of hold them up so you can keep these together, and it's like having a third hand. On this here, I'll use this littler torch. And I should have put some heat shrink tubing over that. This here will get really hot, and probably you'll end up burning the insulation a little bit on the wires. And just do it like that. Having the flux on there, it helps draw the solder in between the wires better. Let that dry for just maybe 30 seconds or a minute. And check, make sure you got a good solder on there, and pull on it. Make sure you can't pull it apart. And I should have put a piece of heat shrink over that, but we'll go ahead and cut it in another spot and we'll do that. And on this here, you want to put your heat shrink tubing probably 1 inch over each side of that. That way you get a good cover on it, because this does shrink some and you don't want to end up too short on it. And I'll put a link down below for some of this too. I'll try to find it where it's in assortment packs. Makes it a little easier unless you know exactly what size you need. Kind of fill with your finger, because this is pretty thin, and see if you got it kind of evened out in the center there. in right there. It's got a good seal on it. It's soldered together. You got a good grip on it. It'd take a lot to pull these apart. So that's another way you could do it. Or you could do it just the old-fashioned way, like most people used to do it. They just skin some back on each side. Twist it together. And take their electrical tape and go around it. Which this works yet, but it's not as good as putting a heat shrink tubing on it. Because this does, once it gets warm enough, it loses its stickiness and it'll come undone some, and other doesn't. So if you're in a hurry and just need to get it fixed temporarily, that would be the way to do it. But that is several ways that you can heat shrink wires and connect them together and stuff. Pretty simple, pretty basic. There's a lot of videos out there like this, so hopefully mine gets more views than theirs does, but if not, oh well. Have a great day, everybody. Don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, and hit that notification button, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye.